So we haven't delved into the depths of an off-topic conspiracy, aliens, ghosts, misogynists, because they're all equally as evil, in a while. And I've as you know, I do 5 lectures a week on fitness. I've been a guest on 2 podcasts this week, which is really awesome. And I've lovely enjoyed that. And I've had 2 amazing guests on this show. So I'm a bit fitnessed out. And I was scrolling Instagram today, and this is the one I thought the topic being, what is the top 2023 conspiracy theories? But I'm going to start with an old one that's somewhat resurfaced. So Robert F. Kennedy, potentially be, in the running to be elected for president. Don't think he'll get it, but I think I like a lot what he says. But he's on a massive petition at the moment to get the files released to the public for all of the JFK assassination stuff, which is super interesting because that was the court ruled apparently in 2017 that these things had to be released to the public. Then Trump didn't do it, and then Biden didn't do it. So what is your take, before we go into what you think about the JFK assassination, why do you think they're refusing to release them? Or are they? Is it just because we've got more important things to do and this is not our priority of opening an old case?
I think it comes down to that. So in that amazing, beautifully put across video by RFK, which is not conspiracy fueled or tinted in the slightest, it's here's the data. There's stuff that needs to be released so we know exactly what happened. So it could be all that stuff gets released and it's exactly what the original narrative story always was all along. At least now we know, and that can quash the rumours, but there's obviously a little something else going on behind the scenes for this conversation to still be going. But in terms of government priority, it's not top of the list, right? But RFK put it beautifully. He said the antidote to conspiracy is transparency. To a degree, no matter how much information you put out there, people will still say, if something's redacted or they've twisted or this is fake, they've had 40 years to put this together and they've just created something fake. Well, that's the people who go too deep down the rabbit hole. And I've been one of them. But it's absolutely correct. If you want full understanding of the truth, there has to be some level of transparency. And that quote is very, very relevant to something that David Grush, the UFO whistleblower, said on Rogan very recently, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But was it ever Trump's top priority? Like he also said he would release all the alien files, which he didn't do. I'm pretty certain once you get in that position, you are hit with so many things on a daily basis that you might go in there with the best of intentions and then all the different government agencies go, well, you're not going to touch that for 6 years because we've got this and this and this and this. So I get it, right? From perspective of when was it? 40, no, not even 40 years ago. It was longer than that, wasn't it? 60 years ago? Almost?
60 years ago.
60 years ago, is it in the government's interest to put the urgency behind releasing that stuff? Well, no, of course not. Who does it really benefit?
And I think it's one of those things where you have to, people go, oh, releasing the files, that could be a click of a button. And if you said, Simon, can I have a document on your laptop? I just click on the Finder, give it a search, and just send you that document across. But I like to think, because I know that's what people are thinking. Oh, well, how long does it take to release some files? And I always assume, with terms of government and world policy, assume more work than less work, right? I can't imagine the pressure of Biden, especially when his memory ain't great, of running one of the biggest superpowers, the biggest countries in the world. Assume he's got other priorities. It's like there are plenty of things that probably people are expecting me to do right now in my very, very small one-man band business that I'm not doing. And they're going, sorry, it will take 10 minutes to look into this. And I'm like, yes, but it's not the priority. It doesn't matter how small it is. We've got a war in Ukraine. We had not like that a couple of years ago, have troops coming out of Afghanistan, and now that's being sorted. We've got our own country, our own homeless populations, our own crime rates, all this sort of stuff. I don't necessarily believe that them not releasing it confirms something conspiratorial. And the thing that put me off a little bit of RFK things, because I went and signed the petition. Not because I want to put pressure on the government for any particular reason, but just because I'm interested in knowing the information, because that's cool. But then it redirects you to a donation page for his campaign.
Sure. Yeah.
Which again, of course, it needs to happen. You need donation for a campaign, but like, are you RFK thinking this is like I truly believe something needs to come out, or is this I know people will click on this, and when I can click on this, they'll go to a page to pay me money, and I'm like, I lose a little bit of the integrity of it.
But now we go down the conspiracy route. Is there anything to really be released, or is he just trying to get funding? But there's definitely stuff worth looking into. Certainly around how the government is treating RFK. He was refused Secret Service. Every presidential candidate, regardless whether they gets Secret Service protection. RFK refused Secret Service by Biden's administration, right? So there's something that's a little bit dodgy, a little bit suspect. Why would that be the case? But again, it starts already. You can just feel the fire of the conspiracy theories come up. And I'm not being funny. I'm going to buy and eat every single flipping one of them because I love it. You could then say, well, they're waiting for RFK to be assassinated, you know? But there's also a case for, again, it's conspiracy tinged. And for the record, anyone listening today, anything we say today, we're not saying is 100% true. We come out with everything and you do an hour or 2 hours research and discover that what we've said is not true. There's 2 hours you've wasted. There's no need. I'm not saying anything we say today is 100% concrete, true, regardless, right?
We are doing what friends do around a campfire with some beers, right? Like exactly. we are like, if you want to come onto a podcast and hear us talk about things, because I think it's like people go, oh, you shouldn't touch what you don't know. And I'm like, if you want to hear us talk about things, we are expertly guided in, like, listen to nearly every other podcast in this show.
Sure,
because we talk about health and fitness and dieting and strength training and stuff that we are very qualified at. But I guarantee you listen to this. If you're slightly triggered now going, we shouldn't be talking about this. Do you talk about this with your friends? And yes, I appreciate this is a public forum. But what I also will say is that we're like, if you have different interests outside of your job, and this is just us chatting about ours. I might be wrong. None of us know with these things, and that's kind of the point. So if someone thinks, if you listen to this and go, they are wrong, do you know that for a fact? Because most conspiracies come from our brains wanting. We get something that's happened where there have been things that have left blank, which may be for no apparent reason at all, but our brains want to find a link to a story. So there's an element of truth in every conspiracy theory. It's just how much.
Because something is missing, because there's data missing, right? And if you think about it this way, let's say in those JFK documents, which I'm pretty sure is probably not going to be a click of a button or a 10-minute job, it's probably a lot longer, right? Because if it's not been a priority up until now, they're probably not even in the right position. If there are state secrets that need, security things that need to be kept secret, there's going to have to be some redaction going on. All that stuff takes time, right? It doesn't mean the reports are ready there to be released in sparkly PDF format. But let's just say whatever information is in there proves that this was a CIA hit job. Then RFK instantly becomes president, because everyone on the right, the left, and in the center that is anti-big government and believes themselves on whatever level of the spectrum of governmental control and government meddling where they shouldn't do, and deep state, and they're not into Biden, they're not into Trump or anything like that. Suddenly there's this guy that, 60 years ago it was proven one of the best presidents America's ever had was assassinated by its own security agencies, intelligence agencies, for whatever reason. We don't fully know yet if it's true. That would suddenly be the end of that Republican-Democrat cycle. I think RFK would instantly be voted in. And it's not everyone who hates those two leaders.
And it's not even just those. Because now, the faith of this, I think the people who are like that are probably going to be more likely to vote for RFK anyway at this moment in time. But I would say that despite this growing distrust in mainstream media, I do think it's still probably the minority. I think people bought whatever you think of the pandemic stuff, right? I think it's very clear that some stuff was bang on the money. I am no doubt saying, COVID didn't exist. Like, there's some young people suffering long COVID. That's really bad to say. But there are definitely some overreaches in government around the world in most places as well, right? So there was mistakes made. We didn't know. It was new. But that's caused an increase in distrust in government. But the people that have clung on, clung on because they trust. They have somewhat blind trust, but rightly or wrongly, with the media organization that are talking to them and the governments that are talking to them. If this came out as a CIA hit job, all of a sudden it's like, you know, that ex-girlfriend, she dumps you and you still think she's the greatest thing in the world, and then all of a sudden you see her like get on with some other guy, and all of a sudden the rose-tinted specs just come off, and you're like, no, she's awful. That's what half the people were blindly trust. So that minority would now become the majority, because people now go, well, if they lied about that, what else are they lying about? Whereas right now, they are pro-Biden or even pro-Trump to a degree. I think Trump's the middle ground between the two.
And all it would take, and again, it could have been a rogue element. Let's say whatever's in those papers prove it's CIA job, which, as far as I'm aware, was kind of either earlier this year or last year was kind of shown to be the case anyway.
It was a while back, but yes, because it was said in the RFK video. They found out it wasn't a single person. Now, who did that, we don't know, but it wasn't a single lone shooter on the grassy knoll.
Yeah. So let's say 2 or 3 guys, for whatever reason, in the CIA had it against JFK and conspirated, if that's even a word, together to create this assassination. Well, that's not the CIA that done it. There's rogue elements of that organization that done it, right? But even then, if there's just one thing in there that shows this was a CIA job, the fuel that then adds to every other conspiracy for people that are already deeper in that rabbit hole, because now it's, well, here's the proof that there is a deep state, that there are rogue elements, that there are people with their own internal government overreach, and they're willing to assassinate the president, the flipping president, to get their own way. You know? And
just to clarify for people who are listening to this on audio whilst being distracted and half listening, he says rogue elements, not Rogan elements. If you assume that Rogan is the hateful conspiracy theories,
paid opposition by some people's opposition to what? It's one of the most critical podcasters of both sides of the government out there. I
know. Well, this is the thing about conspiracy theories. Like, we obviously spent the weekend at with on the Chris Williams live tour, right? And talking about conspiracy theories isn't the doing the thing. Just remember that. But he talked about an episode that he did where he was considered a misogynist and a cuck in the same episode. Like, the two competing things were, and this shows into the tribalness of this, and this is why these conspiracy theories get more and more traction. So, like, moving on from JFK, what do you think is the biggest conspiracy theory of 2023? Because when you first said, I went, there isn't any, and I went, oh my God, there are.
I'll just quickly add one tiny little bit in that only just occurred to me as I was saying my last point, that I'm kind of jealous of American politics because they're sexy, right? There's conspiracies behind it. There's intelligence. We don't, since the days of Blair, we don't have anything anymore apart from David Cameron may or may not have fucked a pig. Other than that, what have we got? MPs having a what one?
Partygate.
Partygate, yeah. MPs having a flipping slice of Battenberg during lockdown. That's not sexy. Come on, man. Come on. And we knew they were doing that anyway. And if you thought otherwise, you're a fucking fool. Like, if Partygate was a surprise to you, maybe turn off the TV every now and then, or change your TikTok algorithm.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
I do get jealous. I go like, God, man, there's some good stuff going over there. But yeah, I suppose maybe that's the better thing, that we don't have, these clowns to deal with, and there's not really family money involved in British politics in the way there is in America. And obviously, they're two different political systems as well. Obviously,
well,
in 2023
thing, right? Because when we look at things like New World Order type conspiracy theories, and we've obviously done a whole episode on that a long time ago, the element of truth in a global elite. Is there a global elite running the world? Unlikely. Is there a global elite influencing the world? Probably. So, and that doesn't mean that these people are conspiracies and making viruses in secret labs and slowly assassinating people that disagree with them and putting Andrew Tate in prison. But we are. But like, if people think that there isn't a little bit of a, well, I gave you a lot of money, so I would really encourage that this policy does not go through. or goes through, or we'd really like to keep guns in place because the NRA funds you, or Pfizer funds you, or the Rothschild family fund you, or the banks fund you. So, like, whether I don't think it's a new world elite, but I do think it's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and we'll just bend, not break, but bend policies to favor the people that are footing the bill. I think that is, I don't think that's 100%. Conspiratorial to say.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's so relevant for both Britain, well, for politics around the world. I think that's part of the name of the game of politics, really. It's not really leadership anymore. It's funded, supposed leadership.
It's collaboration.
So it's collaborations. That's a great way of putting it. The David, this is not the point I was going to make about David Grush on Rogan recently, which is a wild episode if you haven't listened to it yet. One of the things he mentions is during the congressional UFO hearings, certain minister, again, I've only listened to it once, so I'm paraphrasing here. Certain ministers, I forget the name of one he referenced specifically, were meant to release certain bits of data, documents, or whatever it was that they didn't do. And you look at his main party donators. Oh my God, man! I'm on my second full Ethiopian Yirgacheffe with chaga in there as well, and I feel like I'm getting dumber. I don't know. Well, his funders, right? His investors. They are the exact military companies that are likely got this stuff stored up. Lockheed Martin, all sorts, right? So there is definite, maybe not also always favors, but just a little bit of like, we don't need to go down that path. And if you want to go down that path, you might find next year's donations go down a little bit. Not because they're necessarily harboring something evil and secret, but it could just be, this is going to cause us so much chaos, man. Like, we don't have to do this. And if you're going to do this, then we're going to throw something back at you, because that's what they do.
And I think the couple of things to bring on here, like, if people sitting there are very anti-conspiracy theorists, they think these people are all nutters. And if you think we're nutters, then cool. You do you. You think what you think.
Yeah.
But, like, there are very proven precedents of things like these things that we are questioning happening, right? Was it polio that they gave to kids in Africa? The American government gave them to
kids in Africa. Same with, was it herpes? No, maybe not herpes. I think it might have been herpes as well.
Yeah,
one of them was done in America as well.
There are cases of people being assassinated and murdered, government officials, and it's not just America, right? Like, the Russians do it, the Chinese do it. Like, there are things that we will never know, right? Yeah. And the thing with things we never know is, like, you hear a story about a friend of a friend punching somebody, and you go, well, that's a nasty thing to do, and we don't know whether that person didn't have it coming. Yeah. We just see the story of it, and I think this is where I think it comes into the top conspiracy theorist of 2023. For me, is Russell Brand, because Russell Brand's an interesting case. Let's assume now he's innocent for the purpose of the conspiracy theory to work. Joy's out for that, but it's not. In fact, is that he got, whether you think he's guilty or not, the UK government put pressure on people to try and cancel him, in particular Rumble, which is whether if he's generally like guilty, maybe fair enough. Although R. Kelly still has stuff on YouTube and like things like this, right? But it's an overstep as it stands as a man who is innocent. Yeah, they've kept on the platform, but they've decided to demonetize him. Like, you can't fire someone from a job for speculation and rumor. You need fact, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is definitely the questioning thing. So whether this is a cover up to get him silenced or not, there are people out there that adamantly don't want Russell Brand spouting his message. And Russell Brand has been spouted as a conspiracy theorist, often by people who have not watched any of Russell Brand's show. And I've watched quite a lot of Russell Brand, and he's always he never really forms an opinion on any of his YouTube videos. I don't know about his podcast, but on his YouTube videos, it's very much, this publication said this, it goes against this publication said this, here's some more evidence that this might be true, and these are the amounts of money that's been funded into the war in Ukraine, and this is how much money the US have gotten back. And it's labeling facts. And yes, he's maybe painting a narrative and has confirmation biases, but nothing he says was a lie at any point. He wasn't like an Alex Jones who sometimes backs his shit up, but often just rambles. So, like, what's your take on the Russell Brand thing? And I want to add to that before I open the floor. It's gone quiet.
It has, right?
Do you think it will work back up because they're building something, or do you think it did? Do you think they realise that he ain't stopping, so we've lost for now?
Yeah, it could be either or, right? The one side you could look at it as it's gone quiet because they're building the investigation, and not everything has to be released as we go along. But that doesn't feel to me like that's the way the media would do it. And this was a trial by media before it was an investigation anyway, right?
That's the thing.
I can't imagine. So if the media is not talking about something, it's because two reasons. Nothing's happening, or they're the ones covering something up. So it's one of those two things, really. It's either nothing's happening, or they're hiding something. And I'm not saying they're hiding the truth of it's all a lie. I mean, they could have all the info. It's just not there to put out.
Yeah, and that's a really key point as well, because he could be guilty, and this could be a conspiracy from the media. Both things can be true. The media can be made as justifiable heroes if he comes out to be guilty. Does that necessarily make it right that it was trial by media? Maybe, because Weinstein was put down by trial by media, and that's the argument everyone always talks about. So.
Sure.
Yes, did they do a good thing there by being the ones to out him? Sure. But is that just a nice coincidence that they happened to fall into the lap of something? Would they have done it if Weinstein was innocent? Like the tricky thing that I have with this is, like, it never used to be not confrontation. What am I looking to be? What's the word I'm looking for? What is the word I'm looking for? My mind has gone. This is my second coffee as well. I'm getting dumber. When you say it's controversial, it never used to be a controversial opinion for someone to be accused of a crime, and you want the courts to find out whether they're guilty or innocent. That's why we have courts. Yet I've often, if I say, like, I get so much of this when the topic of Brand and Tate comes up, and I'm like, is he guilty? Maybe. Is he innocent? Maybe. I don't want to make a judgment or change my opinion on a person based off rumor and innuendo. If the courts find him guilty, then he should be locked away. Like that, I think, is a very on the fence, quite a fair argument. I have been labelled the anti-woman for that because I didn't immediately have my pitchfork out, which I think is mental.
Crazy, right? It's crazy. And again, it all comes down to emotions. The media is fantastic at emotional control. They understand what headline, picture, news story is going to make you feel a certain way that's maybe going to influence you to act a certain way. More often than not, in terms of purchasing for the companies that are their shareholders. It is as simple as that. The media is not always the hero. Occasionally, every now and then, something good could come of it. Weinstein, fantastic. People may hate to admit it, but the Daily Mail back in the day did some very, very heroic things that they don't talk about anymore. The most recent terror attack in America, did you see this yesterday?
No.
Fox News reported terror attack at I want to say Nevada. There's some sort of toll booth, big car full of explosives, goes off. 2 people died, the 2 passengers, the driver and the passenger. And a man who was running the toll booth injured. Big explosion, CCTV footage come out. Whoa, pretty flipping big, right? And apparently it was full of explosives, and they were on their way to a bridge, and they were likely going to blow the bridge up, and whatever happened. Later that day, reported Iranian passport found near site, which is always for me a little bit like, why had I always find a passport near the site? If that passport was in the car, it would have been obliterated. It wouldn't have been blown out the window.
Yes.
And 200 feet down the road. Turns out, as more CCTV footage comes out, that this was actually an amazing, big footage, incredible. Speeding car going up a ramp, flying up about 20 feet in the air and carrying on for a good 30 meters before it crashed into the thing and an explosion went off. Turns out it was a guy who went to see Kiss in Vegas. The Kiss concert was cancelled because Paul Stanley's very ill at the moment. He then went and racked up 300 grand's worth of debt in a casino, got pissed, and drove him and his wife to their death by speeding into the toll booth. Fox have already reported terror attack. Someone else had already reported Iranian passport found nearby. How many people are now walking around going, hang on a minute, I don't believe that's a drunk guy that racked up debt. It's clearly a terrorist, and they're covering it up now. Damage
How many people only saw that news report and now telling their friends about the Iranian terror attack that's happening, and these things have started to spread. And it's always convenient, like, and again, convenience, like, sometimes the most obvious answer is correct, right? So when I say convenient, I'm not going, it's a bit too convenient, but like, there's all this stuff going on, like, we've got like Hamas, Israel, Palestine, that sort of like area, and it happens to be, okay, that's interesting. That's super convenient. You know, it couldn't have been someone in the Middle East. You know, that is the Middle East, but you know what I mean. It couldn't have been Afghanistan. It couldn't have been China. It couldn't have been a Russian. You know, it happens to be the thing that's already populating the news. I've already seen a video that talked about, like, it was a really quite scary video about what would happen. Like, it was like was it Israel's embassy did a video about a terror attack happening on Christmas Day in the UK. Have you seen this? And a woman was opening on Christmas Day, and she opens to all these notifications that my house on fire, what's going on? She looks outside, she sees people screaming. She gets her family into the basement, and then all of a sudden, like, they're quiet. It's really realistic sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, door opens. Guy gets hear the husband go up. It's some like the camera looking at the wife's face, basically. And then he goes up here, a gunshot. Someone lands on the floor, goes black, and then all of a sudden she's got on a bloody head, and they're pulling her. These balaclava men are pulling her out of her house, put her on the bike with them, and she's like awake but like scared. And that is truly terrifying. And I think that's an important thing to potentially have there. Like, look, the West aren't immune. This could happen. But is it a warning, or is it fueling a narrative? Is it fueling
some would say
a hatred for a conflict that we don't have anything to do with? And I know there are a lot of people that have a side on Instagram. I do not know enough about this to have a side, so I am not going to have a side. Right? I generally haven't researched it because like, I know you can go down these wormholes. So if you know more than me, like, you have your opinion, that's fine. But it's something where we know militaries get paid, like, countries get profit from war. And we've seen, we talked about Blair earlier on, people fabricate reasons to go to war. Is these things starting to create an anti-opinion of the people or of a side here? And that scares me as much as actually what's going on there.
Yeah, that video itself is, you could say that is not a conspiracy theory because it's real. It's a video right there. But the reasons behind it.
But that video there isn't real. This is dramatization.
So yes, But in terms of who released it, did you say Israeli embassy?
Yes, that's what the article said. It was like a video from an embassy.
Yeah. So they've been pushing since the start of this round, since October 7th. They've been putting a lot of, well, I don't want to say propaganda, but it is propaganda. Some of it's true, some of it's not, I'm sure, out there about what's been going on. And they've even been paying X/Twitter ads for this stuff as well. Now, you could say some of it is, like you say, the West is not immune. The West is certainly not immune. UK, very much in danger, which is why we have a fairly high terror threat most of the time. The other side of it is, you could say that's predictive programming. Like, they know something's coming, and like, it's like, you know, Simpsons did it, right? Simpsons already did it. And obviously, let's flipping hope not. But you should always have you can't live in this current reality going, the world is all sunshine and rainbows and that's happening over here and it isn't going to happen over here. That's such a dangerous way of thinking.
Both extremes of a dangerous way of thinking, though, right? Like, if you live in fear of a potential terror attack you might have, and you'll never live your life. But on the flip side, if you think it can never happen, then we've got 9/11. Again, whatever you think, whether that's a terror attack or not, let's just go with the narrative for now, right? That this happened. Yeah. July 7th bombings, the Manchester terror attacks, this happens.
Scotland, fucking 7/7, man. Of course, it's flipping happened, and even just like one-off stabbings, whatever, that don't really get into the news as a terror attack. It happens.
I remember the London, not the London bombing, the 7/7, but I remember the one at London Bridge. I was.
Yeah, man. I remember.
If you remember Tarek, who we used to work with at UP.
Yeah.
Me and Tarek were doing some work, and we're trying to find a bar with Wi-Fi, and we're like, should we just go to London Bridge, because like there'll be places there. And then the last minute we almost got to London Bridge, went, you know what, let's just go home, it's getting a bit late, we've tried a lot of places. That is genuinely scary. That is my Seth MacFarlane, I got too drunk, didn't get on the plane moment.
Man, there was a few, I forget which one, I think it was it Sainsbury's, where they took the guy down with a narwhal tusk?
Yeah,
I can't remember what bridge that was.
That was,
I was like,
Westminster Bridge.
Westminster. So Westminster Bridge was, no, that was the geezer that drove over it, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's why we have the festive diversity barriers on there now. I forget which bridge it was, but the guy who tied knives to his hands and was going around.
Oh, that'd be London Bridge.
Stabbed a few people.
That'd be London Bridge.
It was London Bridge again, wasn't it? Yeah. Maybe I was on my way there. I was on my way there from UP. That was my early finish, and I was already walking down the Thames toward that bit, and then they're like, can't go that way. Cool, fine, I'll get on another train. And then later on you find out, that's why.
My uncle on this July 7th, that was the train he got every single day to work. And he went early for that meeting on that day, which is unreal. So like, going back to this year, we've obviously spoken about brand. Is there any other conspiracy theories this year that perked your interest, let's say?
Of course. 3 of my favourite conspiracies of all time have happened this year. This is not one of my favourites of all time, but this has become higher awareness level of the Just Stop Oil protesters are probably actually funded by the oil industry to create more dissent against the renewable energy industry, to then get people just staying with oil and things like that, which I think is hilarious. And considering their methods are so innocuous and annoying, I kind of buy that.
I don't buy it. I think we don't assume conspiracy where idiocy is more likely. Because you've seen the video of the guy who says, all your clothes are made of oil. How did you get into that oil? You're getting people in a traffic jam that are giving burning oil. Like, what are you doing? Live in a forest. And I'm like, yes, mate.
But if this is true, it's genius, because they chose one of the most annoying methods of their protest, like ruining the average working man and woman's day by slowing them down, making them late, diverting them, costing them more, making them lose money. Right? Terrible way of trying to get people on your side. But they're all unlikable people.
Yeah,
they're all obviously trust funded. They've got names like Flopsy and Tipsy, and they do stupid things like wreck paintings and try to smash windows. Just it's so.
But do you think that could be explained?
Soft.
Do you think that could be explained by that though? This is a new wave of sort of they're often younger, right? Normally, so often Gen Z, people who are trust funded. People have got money. Yeah. People that may not really understand the hard work. People that may not understand how things work. People that understand that you can't just stop oil like tomorrow. We're not going to do that anymore. That oil thing, that was a yesterday thing. It's people that don't understand that fight this because they see the sensationalized headlines. They've been brought up in that world where the sensationalized headlines equal truth. And whether oil is a good thing or a bad thing, it's not. I'm not making a call, but they go with the reactional rather than the right. Let's try and work on this.
And again, it's a community thing. This is how conspiracy elements come around as well. Like, there's a need for belonging. There's an absence somewhere. Like, again, I don't want to be horrible, but I'm going to be. I can't imagine they were the most popular kid at their school or their work, if they have worked, or their university that they're currently in their 20th year of studying fucking gender ideology or whatever the hell they're studying, right? That Tarquin in his tweed jacket is sitting in University of College London at the age of 43. Come on, bruv. She's not going to lay her. She's not going to. That's hate speech now as well. She's not going to bang her. It's hate speech. But that was one of my favourite ones because that tickles me. And it probably ain't true, but it tickles me to think because I'm like, it fits. Genius.
We can't have
obviously
Hawaii. Before you go into before we end. We can't have a conspiracy of the year without talking about what is obviously the biggest one, and that is the Tate trial. It's almost been a year now. It's gone throughout the whole.
I'd go bigger than that. But the Tate trial's a good one.
So I'm going to briefly go. Because we talked Tate in the past, right? But all I will say as a follow-up to our previous episodes around Andrew Tate is that I am less on the side of conspiracy. And I've never been proper conspiracy. I've never thought it's the Matrix trying to take him down. But I've become less and less inclined to believe that. I am not saying that especially now it's come out that it's more coercing for media attention, whether it's the cam girls or TikTok videos. And I don't know the intricacies of that. That could very, 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 very much be true. And I think very much he has skirted the line of legality. And maybe he does think he's innocent, but he is skirting. And if you've seen the latest interview with Piers Morgan with Andrew Tate, I've not got all the way through it yet, but my God,
not all the way, no.
Normally, in a long-form interview, Tate composed himself and speaks very, very, very well. In this interview, he absolutely doesn't. He's doubling down on anger, conspiracy theories, and he keeps things very hidden. So the one thing he was like, well, he was talking about he must have put his foot in and going, well, I need to make money. I haven't been had a chance to make money in the last year. Well, how are you surviving? How are you picking money? I have my ways. I was like, say you're doing something illegal without saying you're doing something illegal, right? I get why he doesn't want to say how many kids he has. I get that. Because if he genuinely believes there is someone out to get him, that information is very vulnerable.
That's a smart move. And considering people plaster their kids all over the place.
Why are you hiding how you make money in the last 8 months? My opinion on Tate is dropping. And I would be less surprised now if he's guilty than I ever have been.
So I would say if the Matrix attack is real, the Matrix wouldn't be this useless. It wouldn't take this long. It would be over and done with soon, right? Because they want to get rid of him, right? So I think he got murdered in prison, got Epsteined in prison, and this is the clone. This is the clone bodysuit, which is why he's talking differently and a little bit more sensationalist than. But again, like we said, nothing on this episode is true except for this one. Malaysian Airlines. Do you remember the plane disappeared?
Yeah.
It went completely missing, and they never found any trace of it. Potential debris found, but not really confirmed. Have you not seen
No.
this? Oh man, I'm gonna send you all this stuff because this is legit. Satellite footage of orbs flying, 3 orbs flying around Malaysian Airlines plane as it's going off course.
So are you blaming aliens?
People are, well, not necessarily aliens, just whatever these orbs are, right? Whatever the hell these orbs are that are moving fast and rotating around the plane. It was from, and as far as I'm aware, people have tried debunking it, and it's not stuck yet. This is satellite footage, so it's either NASA or Starlink or whatever the third company, I forget whose name there is. Twin USA 229 satellites. So whoever owns those is this footage was released by a military whistleblower, a lieutenant commander. It's a pretty flipping high up. And what they've done is they found the exact moment where the plane is disappeared through known records. And there's there's 3 orbs floating around this plane that's going off course. Why no other planes would be going off course for any other reason than that? CGI experts have come in and gone, no, this isn't fake. That looks pretty legit to me. And then the plane disappears. Never to be found, never to be seen.
Do you think my mate Alex, who, by the way, for people who don't know, my best mate Alex, he makes spaceships for a living. That's actually legitimately true.
He can help.
I want to help find this out. You want to see if he can get to the bottom of this, but
he can help us out, right?
That's truly mental.
I'll send you some stuff.
That's truly mental. And I think we could delve into all of these for an hour, and this is just a highlight reel today. But the other one that I don't know much about, and I wonder if you know more about, was obviously that caught the news this year was the Maui fires, right? Where
in Hawaii,
in Hawaii, where people were
huge.
And again, I don't really know what happened. I just know there was a lot of conspiracies around it, where people were stopping people going to help, and they were stopping people leaving. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. They were stopping people going back to their homes. They were stopping people going from certain routes. Apparently, the water was switched off hours earlier or something like that, which could just be coincidence and bad luck, etc. But there are some weird things. There are certain properties that were left completely untouched whilst all the neighbouring buildings around it
And
were
wasn't it
completely ravaged.
global elites, like I don't want to say global elite, makes it sound like New World Order, but wasn't it of people of like rich and famous, like Oprah's house and The Rock's house?
Lot of rich and famous people there. There's a lot of child trafficking from Maui is huge, is absolutely huge. So, yeah, but again, that just feeds into conspiracy rumors as well. But my favourite conspiracy part about that is the police chief that was overseeing that all is the same police chief who was in charge of the Vegas hotel shooting that we never got a full explanation. The same guy. Now, if that ain't bad luck, oh my God. But if that's conspiracy, juicy as fuck.
That's insane. So this is a short episode because we've got a call to get to, but right,
we should do part 2.
We should definitely do part 2 of this. We should definitely do part 2. But if you're got to this point now and are watching this on YouTube or audio, comment on this video. What is your favorite conspiracy of the year? Yeah. I'd love to know if we've missed something that perked your interest, because there is so much that we could potentially go into. And I'm definitely going to be looking into this Malaysian Airlines one for the rest of my afternoon. My work is now not happening after my next call. So, Rob, where can people find out?
It's not doing the thing, bruv.
I think you should plug your normal Instagram channel this time, because we don't want to bombard Fat Loss Fastlane with a bunch of conspiracy talk. But on your normal page, I think it might be.
Yeah. To be fair, like, find me on my regular one where I'm definitely less active, apart from trying to make my mates laugh in the stories, which is my full name, which you'll see in the show notes. But even on my Fastlane page, the last few posts, everyone's been commenting about religion or Israel versus Gaza, which is weird for a fat loss page, but is what it is. So you can find me on either, man. If you really want to get deep on the conspiracy stuff, find me on Twitter. That's where it gets a little bit wild.
Oh, yeah. So find him on X to be updated.
Find me on X. Sorry, Elon. Find me on X.
So he'll send out you send an X? Is that what you do now?
Post.
That is boring, isn't it?
Now.
It was better.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elon, but you're wrong. But yeah, Rob, it's been a pleasure as always. And everyone else, I'll catch you next week.
Well.